They talking about taking away the draft. What kind of bullshit is that? Yeah, maybe if you're a fan of a bigger team, you know, you want to be the fucking Dodgers. But if you're a fan of a small team, I'm going to get into all that later. But man, what is this shit, dude? You know, there's been some reports recently coming out saying, oh, Adam Silver's looking into removing the draft completely and basically letting kids come out of college, like they free agents, and letting teams just sign them to wherever. And look, I don't know how true it is, the whole report with Adam Silver saying this shit, because it's from a random guy on Twitter. It's from a guy who got it from a guy. I don't know. Maybe Adam Silver really isn't thinking about this shit. But other people around the NBA community has now started to put their takes into this shit. David Aldridge said, I'm gonna read this quote, lottery and draft are corporate welfare for sports teams. Teams don't do anything to earn the talent of those players. They are simply given to them. Yeah, that's the whole fucking point of a draft. They don't earn it because they fucking suck. If they didn't suck, they wouldn't get the damn first pick. But because they suck, they get a high pick in the draft. That's how it fucking works. That's how almost all the sports, at least American sports, work. Dude, if you took away the draft, you're gonna ruin the NBA. It's gonna be like only 5 big teams, and then that's it. It's only gonna be the bigger markets, and the rest of the little fucking teams are gonna be digging around for scraps. We're gonna turn into the damn fucking Premier League, where Chelsea grabs up every single young player they can. That's gonna be the Lakers or the Knicks or some shit, whoever can do it. And then Mark Cuban had his own take on it, and he's trying to offer a solution. Look, I appreciate Mark Cuban a little bit. He's a fucking billionaire. Who gives a fuck about his opinion sometimes? But he's also owner of the NBA. Seems like one of the better ones. Gotta put his opinion on it. He basically was saying that we do make the draft like free agency, but the worst team is able to pay the players more money than the better teams. So the team with the worst record basically gets like the same amount of money they would be paying the first overall pick. They get that money to then incentivize and pay to whatever player they want out of college. So if that guy was going to make $14 million out of the draft, they could then go and say, hey, here's 14 million. And then it would go down from that. And then he says, you know, basically this would make players, if they really hated a team and they hated a coach, they would just take less money to then go to better teams if they really didn't want to go for the money. I get the point. Like, I get what he's saying, but this shit would not work in practice, man. Because if you got a guy, I'll bring the Lakers back because, again, they're one of the biggest teams in America. You had a guy who had the choice of going to, I'll use the Pelicans as an example because they're my fucking favorite team. So I'll shit on them a little bit right here. If they had the number 1 pick in the draft and then the Pelicans were like, hey, here's 14 million. I'm going to use that number again. Here's 14 million. You know, you're going to come to us. And then the Lakers said, here's 5 million. You know, this is all we can afford, but we're better. So we're the better team. So we can give you 5 million. One, the guy probably will want to go live in Los Angeles. You know, I mean, it's a great place to live for a millionaire. 2, you think, look at me in the damn eyes. You look at me. Look me in the eyes. You think there is not a shit ton of companies who can come up with some magic money to match up to that 14 million or go above that 14 million and get that player to Los Angeles? They can't restrict a brand from doing a deal with a guy. If Nike wants that guy in Los Angeles, they'll put the fucking money up for it. Any other brand too. Man, they'll be doing some Clipper shit where Kawhi was getting paid for the fucking trees, whatever the fuck that was. Now, the one thing I will say about Mark Cuban that I do like what he was saying is to make the draft 4 rounds. I actually agree with that because he was talking about how once the end of the draft comes around, guys are just saying, don't draft me, so they can just be an undrafted free agent and then go to whatever team they want. And these teams are already doing deals with agents before the draft's even over with. You give some teams a better chance to get those little gems that go like later on and don't get drafted at all. But man, removing the draft, that's not going to work. That'll do nothing. It'll do nothing but make teams never be good because all these players will then go to the same markets. And then you're going to have fans just hate their teams little by little. And then you're going to just drive them away from their teams. And the NBA is going to just fall further and further and further. Tanking is the root cause of the whole conversation. They want to end tanking. How do you end tanking? Oh, you have to adjust the draft so it doesn't help the teams that are shit and aren't winning games. Because it's always the team is tanking, and it's not like they just actually need the fucking help. Tanking is the big evil right now that the NBA need to fight off. Tanking is necessary for shitty teams to get good. It just is, man. The lottery odds right now are fucking teams if you're bad one year. And it's hard to be bad. I know this sounds insane, but it is hard to be bad. No team will probably ever go 0-82. I think it's impossible for a team to never win a game. I think that's almost more impressive than a team going 82-0. It's for a team to never win a fucking game. But the lottery odds are keeping shitty teams bad longer. Because if you have the worst record in the NBA, you're not guaranteed the first pick. You can drop out of the top 3. So then every year, let's say you have a bad record and you just keep having shitty picks to go along with that shitty record. You're never going to get good. Dude, some teams will always be bad. No matter what kind of help they get, what kind of picks they get, they will always be bad. Look at the Pelicans, my favorite team. They're always bad, but that's an organizational problem. They can't run a good organization. They need help in different places. And look, I get why tanking is bad in certain ways. It does suck if you want to go see a team, but then you don't see the players you want to go see because they're all resting so they can lose the game. But the problem is the NBA already hates small market teams. They already hate them. In the NFL, Kansas City has the best quarterback in the NFL. Kansas fucking City, Missouri. What? Could you imagine if there was an NBA team in Kansas City? They wouldn't give a fuck about them. Dude, in the NFL, these random ass small towns, Green Bay, Wisconsin, has a beloved team. And no one questions it. But man, you let a player go to New Orleans. You let a player go to Memphis. You let a player go to any of these smaller markets. Oh, we have to get him to Los Angeles. Oh, we have to get him to New York. Oh, we have to get him to Miami. We have to get him to Chicago. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. That's always with these guys. As soon as people are drafted, it's how can we get them to the next biggest location? And the NBA loves this shit. They love when LA and New York is good and Chicago is good. They want them to be good. I don't care what those fan bases say. The NBA wants you to be good. And so again, I think if you take away the draft and you do this whole free agent shit, the NBA is probably going to incentivize kids to go to these other teams. Because for some reason, the NBA wants the NBA to only be like 5 teams. As I said before, the only benefit to all of this is it would make owners care more about their teams. It would make them upgrade their facilities, take better care of their players, hire better coaches, because this would convince players to then go to these organizations. But there's so many more things at play with this. It's just I don't think it would work. This one guy had a great point. I saw on Twitter. He's talking about how baseball used to never have a draft. I'm not a big baseball guy, so I really didn't know this. But apparently, back then, they could just sign players wherever they wanted to. Now, for 42 years, they did this. The Yankees won 20 titles in those 42 years, from 1923 to 1965. That was the first year of the draft. Ever since then, the Yankees have won 7 titles. So that's still a lot, don't get me wrong, but that's nowhere near what they were winning before. That's 61 years later, 7 titles. The draft helps smaller teams. And Shams reported, the NBA is discussing all these different alternatives for what they should do about tanking. And here, I'll just list a few of them for you. First round picks can be protected only top 4 or top 14 plus. Lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a later date. No longer allowing a team to pick top 4 in consecutive years and or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. You're just fucking teams even more. What if those picks don't pan out? They can't always hit. Look at a guy like Anthony Bennett. Yeah, not everybody was super high on the man, but he was still high on everybody's list for the most part. The Cavs they really mishit on that one. And then teams can't pick in the top 4 after making the conference finals. Why? What if they blow up? Like, what if something happens? Look at the Pacers. You think the Pacers wanted Tyrese Halliburton to get hurt? They didn't want him to get hurt. So now you're fucking them? Like a team like this, in that same scenario, you're fucking them because their star player got hurt and now they're having a shitty season, and they didn't want to have a shitty season. I guarantee you the Pacers want to be back into the finals. They don't want to be sucking ass. They want to be back up there, man. So you're fucking hurting them. Now, when they do get a top 4 pick, you're saying that with the new rules, they just can't. They can't get the talent to help them even get there again. But, there's a few more on there. I just think, again, this is stupid. This is going to just hurt worse teams even more. Rachel Nichols has some things to say about this too. I'm going to give you a little quote from her. I like some of these ideas, but we have to recognize that tanking is a symptom, not the problem. The actual problem, bad teams don't have that many ways to get better. No team prefers to just lose for months in front of empty stands. They're doing it because they have to. She then continues on. The idea of punishing teams that tank or flattening the lottery odds is really short-sighted. If you don't also change the rules so teams have other paths to improve, you're just going to end up with teams that never get better and fans in those markets become more disengaged. Exactly. No one wants to lose. I can guarantee you that all 30 owners would like to be winning championships. Are they giving their all to win these championships? No, not all of them are giving their all to win these championships. But I know that is their goal. Maybe they're fucking delusional, think they can barely spend any money and get there. Yeah, but they want to win a damn championship. Look, my final thoughts on this. I just think it would be so stupid to take away the draft. It would ruin the NBA. It would ruin it. I know there's been like some sketchy shit. The Mavericks getting the number 1 pick, the Spurs getting the number 1 pick, even the Pelicans getting the number 1 pick after the AD trade. Yeah, I know it looks weird. Because it is fucking weird. That might be one of the only conspiracy theories that I actually fucking agree with. Is the NBA always rigs the draft? There's always some crazy shit that happens. Like when you're like, that team really got the pick? Sure. You sure nothing happened, right? You sure? Yeah, my ass. My fucking ass. But I do believe that if you take away the draft, it'll just ruin the NBA. Because you'll slowly start having these fans who look at their teams and they go, how can we ever improve? Yeah, maybe not every single team has the biggest fan base in the world, but a lot of teams have a lot of dedicated fans that want their team to be good and they just want hope. And if you can't give them hope, they're going to stop giving a fuck. And like me personally, if the Pelicans were to never be able to get good players ever again because they take away the draft and no one actually wants to go play there because they don't give a fuck because the organization's dysfunctional and nobody wants to go play there. So if they can't get any players, I'm going to stop caring. And honestly, I care so much about anything New Orleans. If it's got fucking New Orleans on it, I'm there. This shit is more than a game. Shout out Jono Barnes. I care more about New Orleans sports than anything else. So if the Pelicans aren't a thing, I will never care about another team like that ever again. And you're going to lose me as a fan of the NBA, being a hardcore fan. I'm going to start going from a hardcore fan to not giving nearly as much of a fuck. And I know a lot of people are going to be like that, man. A lot of people only care because the team is repping their city. And if those teams start going away because you want to focus on the big motherfuckers, you're going to ruin the fandom. So final thoughts, don't take away the draft. Maybe there's some solutions, but taking away the draft is the dumbest idea. And if you're going to keep hurting bad teams for being bad, you're also just going to keep hurting the fans that are trying to root for these teams and have a little bit of hope. And I hope you don't do that, NBA. But honestly, Adam Silver, I have no confidence in you, and I do not think that you know what you're doing. You're just freaking out because the real problem is your product is ass. You're putting out shitty product. I'll make a video going in more about how I feel about the NBA product today, all about the refs, all about the game that's being played on the floor right now, because to me, that's the problem, and that shit sucks. And Adam Silver, you got a lot more problems than just worrying about if you should take away a draft. But guys, thank you so much for letting me rant. You know, I love the NBA, man. I really, really do. I love the Pelicans. I love watching this shit. I'm usually watching every single damn game. I love this shit. So I hate when these stupid bullshit ideas come out. It makes me just get angry. But anyway, man, thank y'all so much for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, all right? Goodbye.